Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker, and let's face it, we've all done something at some point in time we thought would be funny, but turned out to be a disaster instead. I probably do it every week, at least once. However, I'm not a superintendent at an Ohio school whose attempt at a juvenile prank landed him as fodder to open the show this week. The esteemed Dr. Charles Keenan quickly transitioned from the "it seemed like a good idea" file to the "actions have embarrassing consequences" file. You see, the good doctor, in his infinite comical wisdom, thought it would be amusing to pants a board member at a football game. Well, that might strike a chord of hilarity with our sophomoric side. You just can't do that, especially since the act of pantsing the board member was caught on video, and further since he accidentally pulled the man's pants down all the way. Evidently, Dr. Keenan didn't know his own strength relative to pantsing. Perhaps he should have practiced, or better yet, perhaps he should have thought better of perpetrating the act altogether. Oh, he regrets it now after he was suspended without pay for 10 days, and undoubtedly now the joke is on him. I mean, can you imagine when it comes to budget time and board members talk about tightening their belts to curb spending? Don't think eyes won't turn in Dr. Keenan's direction and snickers won't ensue, or that somebody won't dig up the old American Idol tune "Pants on the Ground" and turn it up just a little bit louder when he's in the area. What's most disappointing to me is that if he wanted to pull an article of someone else's clothing down so bad, I gladly would have volunteered my compression socks. Ahead on today's show, fully clothed Herald Mail insiders Bob Parsiliti and Andy Mason join me for football and cross country respectively. Plus, I have county golf championship show and tell, and three guys who were forced to change their jerseys at halftime of Friday's victory over North Hagerstown. Williamsport football players Jacob Ball, Kai Holman, and Ryan McLaughlin share the reason why. Oh, and they'll talk about their performance too when you come back.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
When you're sick or hurt and can't be seen by your regular doctor, you just want to feel better faster. Make a convenient appointment or simply walk into Meritus Urgent Care, where you can receive attention from our caring professionals, from sprains and strains to sore throats, earaches, and other ailments that are not life-threatening. Meritus Urgent Care has you covered with on-site labs and x-rays and much more. We're conveniently located on Pennsylvania Avenue in Hagerstown at the Sylvania Center. Feel better faster with Meritus Urgent Care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with football, and in particular, Williamsport Wildcats football. I'm joined by Kai Holman, Ryan McLaughlin, and Jacob Ball. Welcome to the show, guys. Congratulations on the homecoming win on Friday night over North. Final score 31-14. And Kai, the first thing I want to ask you is that a legal jersey?
Is it illegal?
Yeah, is that legal or illegal?
It's illegal, according to some ruling somewhere.
That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, what's it like having to go in at halftime and change into a JV jersey because your jersey is deemed to be illegal by the officials?
It was really annoying, especially considering that it was almost unnecessary. I mean, we played the jerseys years before, and that was the first time we ever had a complaint. So putting the JV jerseys on, I mean, it was just another thing to get out the way. We still played the game. I'm
sure it was a little added motivation coming out in the second half, like you needed anymore as it was. It was a good first half overall, Ryan, for your team. Have a lead at halftime. As a matter of fact, the game started very well for you guys. It was less than 2 minutes in, and you already had a 7-0 lead. Now, with homecoming, there can be some distractions. Did that detract from the effort at all on Friday night? I mean, it didn't seem like it was the sharpest game in the world for Williamsport.
It wasn't the sharpest, but I know homecoming week is like hectic because everybody's worrying about homecoming and everything going on in Spirit Week. But I think overall our team did stay focused pretty well during the week, and we had some mistakes during the game, but we still definitely won. So
Yeah, without a doubt. And Jacob, that's the important thing in the end. And I said that earlier this year when you guys beat Manchester Valley. In that game, maybe that wasn't the best game that Williamsport had, and certainly as the season's gone along, the team has improved. But what are some of the things that you'd like to be able to get a little better at and to sharpen up as the year progresses?
Our execution on offense and defense, sticking to what we've learned and gone through all week at practice. But we really have grown in the sense that we never give up and we always give 100% effort. We've lost 2 very close games earlier this season, and we never gave up no matter what, and that's a big difference this year compared to the past Williamsport teams. So.
And that's a perfect segue to the question that I was going to ask you next. Not giving up, that very first touchdown. The ball's on the ground. You chase it down. You're going back further and further toward the opposite end of the field. Finally, you start heading the right way. You find Kayvon Carter. Turns into an 18-yard touchdown that probably covered about 120 yards before all said and done. Tell me about that play, because I heard your coach, Tim Small, say afterwards, I love you, but don't ever do that again.
Yeah, I kind of got yelled at for that one. But, I see Kayvon do that all the time, so why not try a little bit. But, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to just take the sack or anything, and I knew one of my guys was going to be open for me. So reversing backfield, I saw my brother Lincoln and Kayvon both standing there. I'm like, okay, here's my chance. I got open enough to the point where I could set my feet and throw it, and then I got it to him, and he did the rest. So it's nice being able to rely on them like that.
Yeah, it all worked out in the end. Kai, the defense, played really well on Friday night in a game that didn't have a lot of flow to it. I mean, that had to be difficult in many ways because there were so many stoppages for penalties, discussions, whatever it may be, jersey, gate, whatever you want to call it. But from a defensive standpoint, you guys forced 6 turnovers in the game. You're the second leading tackler for this team this season. Tell me a little about this defense. Why has it performed so well? Because it has pretty much all season long.
Well, it's just the go factor. We just want to go. We want to kill. We want to kill. We want to kill. You're not going to stop for anything. You have the ball. We're going to stop you if we can. And the North game with it constantly stopping, as long as they didn't have a flow and we just played with our mindset, we were good. Like, I trust everybody in the backfield. I trust everybody up front. Like, as long as we do our jobs, like each individual player does their job, we're fine. And each stoppage or any outside distractions is not going to slow us down.
Yeah, only 1 touchdown from North Hagerstown in that game coming against the defense. And Ryan, I kind of referred to you off camera as Mr. Takeaway this season. You sort of specialized in taking the ball away, whether it's been interceptions or fumble recoveries. How do you explain kind of being in the right place at the right time? And on Friday night, you were in the right place at the right time on offense at one point to rescue the football for your team.
Yeah, I always float the ball very well. I'm always in on tackle or anything. So most of the time when they do fumble, I'm standing right there. So I just go and pick it up and run it back. And interception, the interception I had on Friday, I saw the quarterback was rolling out, and my guy, he ran in, and I knew the quarterback wasn't as well, and he threw it, so I just jumped it.
Yeah. 4-2 is the record right now, Jacob. And I was saying to you before we started, it's been 8 years since Williamsport has had a record like that through 6 games. What's the sense of pride for you and this team right now, and the possibility of really finishing out this season and putting Williamsport football back on the map?
We're really happy with how we're performing so far and really happy with our record, but we're still hungry. We still know we still have business to take care of, and we have a few games in the next few weeks that we really think we can make a statement if we win them. So we really believe in ourselves and think we can really make a difference for our team and our support program. So.
Any chance that we'll see that unicorn play again?
Well, hopefully, if he lets us call it again.
Did that work to perfection or what?
Yes, we couldn't have asked for a better outcome.
I love the name of the play. Guys, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Good luck on Friday against Frederick and the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
I'll be back right after this. More football with Bob Parsaliti in just a moment.
No ropes. No pyro. No entrance music. No signs in the crowd. It's WWC, the Williamsport Wrestling Club. For over 25 years, we've been promoting amateur youth wrestling in the community. Good sportsmanship as well as overall health is fostered through this exciting sport. WWC is fun for the whole family.
Hamilton Nissan, we know you've got places to go, so let's travel together. The Nissan Rogue, plenty of room for you, and plenty of room for him. With nearly 40 cubic feet of cargo space, everyone will be using the Rogue for everything, all the time. And on occasion, you'll find an evening for yourselves, and the Nissan Rogue will be right there with you. Hamilton Nissan, let's travel together. Come see us on the Dual Highway.
Welcome back to the show. More football now with Herald Mail insider Bob Parsoletti. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thanks for having me on.
Week 6, a very interesting week. A week of firsts. First of all, the good first. Hancock gets its first win of the season, defeating Grace Christian 43-24.
For Hancock, it's a huge game. First off, Ethan Sodders, who's basically the focal point of that team, has a big day, has a couple touchdowns, has over 100 yards rushing. And then when that happens, all of a sudden other things opened up. Reese McLean hits Brady Sodders with a touchdown pass. I think, and Hancock actually led at halftime. And this was a huge game for them because if you consider the 4 games before this, they only had scored 8 points. Yeah. And I mean, the last time they scored 40 points was last year, but it was, it's rare.
Yeah, and they have been allowing over 34 points per game, so to shut Grace Christian down in the second half, hold them to just 6 after halftime while putting up 23, and again to get that first win of the season, huge for the Panthers to go to 1-5, and now they have potentially another winnable game coming up this week on Friday as they go to a winless 100 team.
A 100 team that forfeited last week because they had lack of players.
Well, there we go. I mean, could be looking at a winning streak for Hancock. The winning streak for St. James came to an end on Saturday, and it kind of ended with a thud. They had won 7 in a row dating back to last season. The Saints fall at home to Potomac 27-23, but it was the injuries that really added to the insult of the loss.
Well, it was a very strange game. First off, a lot of the running game that St. James enjoys to help set up the passing game, it was bottled up. Potomac did a lot of blitzing from the outside and figured out a way to block up the middle, so it kind of limited things. And the problem with that came with that is if it was a pass and they're blitzing to try to take away the running back, they're also in the backfield for getting the quarterback. And Tyler Groshat spent a lot of time on the ground in this game. He was one of many kids that got hurt and were out in places. If you look at it at a quick glance and not knowing what was going on, you would say that they probably didn't handle adversity well because they're not used to it and all that stuff. But, there were times out there because of how small of a team they are that they weren't sure who was healthy to get in there. And that kind of took away from the flow and kind of disrupted everything and made things seem sort of unorganized.
Yeah, it's one thing when you have a playbook and you have plays, but then all of a sudden you don't have the players to execute those plays. Now that's a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, and it was just like one guy that was expected to be there wasn't there. I mean, there was parts in the game when John Meshie was out. There was parts in the game when Chase Osinga was out. There were parts in the game where at the end Parker Tribble missed almost the whole last quarter. He's kind of one of the linebackers and a fullback type guy. So they were missing pieces, and then Groshat did not play after the end of the third quarter. So all of a sudden they're missing pieces. The only guy that was healthy in that whole thing was Jalen Anderson.
Yeah, and he made the most of his opportunities on what you might call some extended handoffs with a couple of long catch and run touchdowns. But now this really adds to the fact that St. James, with all of those injuries, the uncertainty of those injuries, they have a 5-day turnaround from Saturday to Thursday against another 5-1 team.
A team that won the last 4 games by shutout, too.
Yeah, Central Maryland Christian coming up on Thursday. Smithsburg, with its second win in a row, a victorious homecoming for the Leopards, 42-6 over Clear Spring, and it's the recipe for Clear Spring that has led to its demise and its losses this season, giving the football away, and Smithsburg very opportunistic in taking it away and then putting points on the board.
Well, Smithsburg scored the first 35 points of the game, for starters. They got the running game going. They did a really good job of moving the ball. They played decent defense. And on Clear Spring side, for the second time this year,
Cole Easterday
was out with a concussion, and that changes the whole complexion of that team.
Now, Smithsburg goes for its third straight win. They'll be on the road at 3-3 Brunswick coming up on Friday. Clear Spring tries to get back on the winning path now at 1-5. They'll be at Berkeley Springs. Berkeley Springs comes in at 2-4. South Hagerstown, meantime, with a bounce-back victory over Tuscarora, and an impressive one at that. Again, when they're successful, it seems like the defense really steps up, and that was the case in this game as they win at home 14-13.
Well, this series between Tuscarora and South have become really good games that you have to see. I mean, they're all very tight, especially the last couple of years since Vince Ahern has been over there at Tuscarora. And this was no different. South came back. They were down 7-0 at the half. Jason Sannon runs back the second half kickoff for a touchdown, then later on scores on a run and puts them up 14-7, and they end up winning by a point. Timmy Townsend, the quarterback, kicks 2 extra points, and that's probably not where you would have expected him to be providing the winning point.
No, but South will certainly take that. And now when you look at the 3A West playoff point standings, right there, the Rebels sit in that 4th and final slot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a precarious one, though. I think, I mean,
but that was a big win over Tuscarora because Tuscarora now behind South.
Well, Tuscarora's behind South. Actually, North is in 7th right now, and that game, believe it or not, maybe that game could be the difference on who gets into the playoffs come week 10. Especially with the top trials and tribulations that North has suffered through these last few years.
And South is going to have to figure out, though, how to win on the road, and they would like to do it this week. 0-3 on the road so far, 3-0 at home. Go to 1-5 Urbana on Friday. Boonesboro was on the road last Friday night at Allegheny. Things were okay for about the first quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden, Allegheny pulls away from a 13-13 tie and wins 48-13.
Well, if you take the game against Williamsport a couple of weeks ago, it seems like Allegheny is the type of team they're going to go out there and try to do certain things, and they're going to run for it for the first half, and then in the second half they sit there and they say, okay, this is what we need to do. They make good adjustments, it seems like, and it seems like they carry them through. Their 2 running backs, Carson Robinette and Elias Llewellyn is the other one. They combined for 7 rushing touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, they weren't doing anything terribly fancy, but they did it really, really well. Boonesboro falls to 3-3. They'll be at home for homecoming coming up on Friday against North Hagerstown, a game we'll have on WCL TV. Bob, thanks for being here this week.
Thanks for having me on.
I'll be back right after this. We've got more on the show this week than just football. Cross country is next. Andy Mason joins me for that in just a moment.
Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier Martial Arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm Premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. As I said before I went to the break, we're not just football. We certainly concentrate on football as the number one sport during the fall. And Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason joins me now. And maybe he's not all about football, but he's the fearless forecaster at the top of the board. So certainly football has been one of your main concentrations here so far this fall. But you're here for cross country today, Andy.
Right.
And it was last Wednesday that the city championship was contested at South Hagerstown High School, and really no surprise there as North Hagerstown teams come out victorious. A North Hagerstown runner wins on the boys' side. South Hagerstown runner wins on the girls' side. I think everything kind of went to form, but for North Hagerstown, that was a big day for them.
Yeah, huge day. They swept the team titles. It was the 8th annual city championship, South, North, and Goretti. First time any school's ever swept both team titles. And for North, it's the first time they've ever been the boys team champion. And junior Nate Neely won the individual title. It's the first time a North boy has ever been the city individual champion. So yeah, huge day for North.
And for Nate Neely, what a transition from one year to the next. I think everybody saw that he had tremendous potential when it came to running, but now he's decided that he's on board with that too.
Yeah, he was as a sophomore, he was very good. I mean, even as a freshman in track, he showed some promise. He was very good as a sophomore, but he only ran a few races because his primary sport was soccer. At most, probably last year, he was running 20 miles a week, which isn't a ton for a very good cross-country runner. He's got a ton of talent. He ended up finishing 12th in the state, but now he's not doing soccer, fully committed to running, often running twice a day, over 50 miles every single week. He's got a lot of talent. Now he has a lot of training behind him, and he's been on a roll. And he's just a junior, but he's had, if you look at this past week, it's just been incredible. Yeah. He goes to the Carlisle Invitational up in Pennsylvania, a very prestigious meet, over 300 runners, and he wins 3.1 miles, 15:51, very fast time. Then he wins the city title, and then he goes this past Saturday at Watkins Mill, a big invitational. He wins that. So he's, win, win, win. He is on quite a roll. He keeps, not only is he a lot better than last year, he was good last year, but he's better now, and it seems like every week he's getting just a little bit better.
Well, he's certainly the number one guy there, but I think he's getting pushed a little bit by some of the other guys on the team,
too. If it weren't for Nate Neely, we'd be talking about Brandon Gasway.
Right.
He's a huge talent, second best runner in Washington County, in my opinion. We'll see how the county championship plays out, but right now, Neely won, Gasaway too. Gasaway's a senior, great runner. And at all these races, Gasaway's just right behind him. We talked about Neely winning at Carlisle, over 300 runners. Well, Gasaway was fifth. Great finish. The city championships, they're running together for almost the whole way. Then Nate, has a little more speed, takes off at the end, but Gasaway's right there. And then at Watkins Mill, Gasaway was third. Nate won, but Brandon was right there. And they're a great 1-2 punch. Best 1-2 punch Washington County's had in quite some time.
Yeah, tremendous for
You can go. You need 5 to score, but you get those 2 low scores. It goes a long way.
Yeah, boy, that really sets you up for the rest of your scoring. Then, as far as the girls are concerned, Emily Alexander, somebody else who wasn't fully concentrating on running previously.
Right. Yeah. Last year, she also played soccer, which was her primary sport, and she was decent. But at the city championships last year, she was 6th. Now she's a champion this year. She's much better than she was last year. And she really came into her own last winter in indoor track. She was a state place winner indoors in the 3,200. Had a very good outdoor season, and now she's right. She's at the top of Washington. No, not at the very top of Washington County. Boonesboro's Cameron Harper is the defending county champion. I really believe that if anyone could upset her, it's probably Emily Alexander.
And North Hagerstown has a freshman who is certainly turning some heads right now in Phoebe Meehan.
Yes, she keeps getting better every week. She's the best freshman girl in Washington County. She keeps getting better. She pushed Emily Alexander to the city championships the whole way. They got on the track. People were still, before Emily had finished with 3/4 of a lap around the track, and when they got on the track, it looked like Phoebe still had a chance to catch her. She didn't. I believe Emily still won by about 10 seconds, but Phoebe was coming.
I really like that configuration that South Hagerstown used for the course with them finishing on the track. So running about 3/4 of the track to the finish.
Yeah, it was very spectator friendly. You got to see them a whole bunch of times. It was a great course.
So that puts the city championships in the rearview mirror, but there is plenty still to come. The biggest meets lie ahead.
Yeah, well, we'll start with sort of the last sort of regular season meet. That's this weekend, the Frank Kaiser Invitational at Boonesboro. It's one of the biggest invitationals in the state, by far the biggest in the area. 40 schools. It's divided into small schools in the morning, big schools in the afternoon. But yeah, like I said, 40th annual, old, prestigious invitational. And then we'll be back at Boonesboro the following Friday for the CMC championships.
Yeah, so the bigger and the better as we get deeper into the season. There's no question about that. So there will be more coverage coming on cross country. So if you've been worried that we've sort of put cross country to the side, that's not the case at all. We're just waiting for the bigger meets.
Yeah, they're going to start rolling. Then, there's also the IPSL championships at Washington County Regional Park. That's Thursday. You got CMC Friday at Boonesboro. The next week, counties at Clear Spring. The next week, the region meets, and then we're at states.
Yeah, so it's coming to a big conclusion. There's no question about that. And Andy will be here to take us through all of it. Thanks for being here this time, Andy.
Great to be back.
I'm back right after this. I've got the County Golf Championships to apprise you about in just a moment.
Antietam Broadband's Flight Gigabit service is ultra high-speed internet delivered by a direct fiber connection. We are one of the few communities in the country to have it. But what does it mean? It means businesses will want to move here, which means more jobs, better jobs. It means access to world-class infrastructure for healthcare, education, and nonprofits. It means enhanced social and economic well-being. That's why it won the 2017 Leading Edge Award from the Chamber of Commerce. Flight Gigabit from Antietam Broadband, changing how people connect.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. The 2017 County Golf Championship will go down as one of the more surprising ones in several ways. First, after the Black Rock course had been inundated with nearly 2 inches of rain in just over 24 hours, it was remarkable that the 18-hole tourney took place as scheduled. And second, with reigning and defending champion Smithsburg, led by reigning and defending individual champion Brett Bayle, entering as prohibitive favorites, most everyone was conceding a Leopard repeat and content to battle for second place. And by the time the lead groups had finished playing the front 9, Bayle and teammate Mark Nee were tied at the top of the leaderboard, further fueling that thinking. Others remained within striking distance, not the least of which were 3 Boonesboro Warriors. Jordan Rao and Wyatt DeHoff were the closest, sitting 3 shots off the lead. They were followed by another Warrior, Paxton Alexander, a third Leopard in Wyatt Roof, and South Hagerstown State qualifier Will Stowey, all 3 of which were another stroke back, and North Hagerstown's Ben Gazzola was one behind that trio, having carded a 41 halfway to the finish. While Bayle had managed to avert danger on a couple of occasions earlier in his day, he had also added some shots to his total with several makeable putts that didn't find their way into the cup. Through the early portion of the back 9, it didn't appear as if those missed opportunities were going to make any difference, though, as the Leopard senior increased his advantage to 5 strokes with just 3 holes remaining. In the meantime, teammate Roof was fashioning an exceptional round, and in the end, it would turn out to be a career best for the Smithsburg junior. Along with Roof, Boonesboro's Rao was making slow, steady progress thanks to remarkable consistency in all facets of his game. But with Bayle cruising along through 15, it appeared those 2 would be vying for the runners-up spot. But on the par 5 16th, everything changed. Bayle's tee shot ended up somewhere in there, and it only got worse for the 2-time county champ as he tried to hack out. It took 4 times hitting trees, 3 times taking penalties, a chip shot, and then 3 putts before his nightmare on 16 ended in a 12. While Bayle was battling and adding to his score, Rao coolly chipped to within 2 feet of the hole, and when he sank his ensuing putt, the Warriors senior had pulled into a tie by making up an incredible 8 shots. No one on the course knew for sure at the time who was in front, but it was clear that every ball that would be struck the rest of the way would go a long way toward deciding the winner. And by finishing with a pair of pars, apropos that the consistency Rao had demonstrated all day cemented medalist honors for him, it enabled Boonesboro's lone state qualifier to card a back 9 low score of 36, good for an overall 2-stroke margin over Roof, who finished with a total of 77. 1 shot better than Bayle, Nee, and DeHoff. And not only was the individual scoring close, the team scoring came down to just a single stroke. And with the foursome of Rao, DeHoff, Alexander, and Chad Dorsey combining for 325, Boonesboro unseated Smithsburg to win its 2nd county title in the last 3 years. Williamsport was 35 strokes back in 3rd, and it was another 10 to 4th place North Hagerstown. Congratulations to Rao and his Boonesboro teammates on grinding out well-deserved county titles this past Monday. Next time on the show, the Frank Kaiser Cross Country Invitational crowns its champions, plus highlights and recaps of Week 7's football. That and more next week. Thanks for watching this time, and I'll see you then on the inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.